Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco dish out on the movies.
This is the battle of Safi's unseen Goosebumps episodes. Because you have not seen all of them. Now you have, supposedly.
Supposedly.
So, I mean, we watched about a couple, like 6 or 7 or 8. They're mixed bag, to say the least.
Most of them weren't good.
The problem is that it seems like the writers do not understand how to write effective horror stories. Like, a lot of the writing, I think, is like accidentally good. Like, the better episodes, I think maybe it has to do with the books being more detailed.
I don't know. Since I haven't read the books, I had the books. I had a son, the first son, who was here when they first came out, and it was up to him if he wanted to read them. We were all beyond the time where I would be reading him. He was reading chapter books in first grade.
Safi,
my second son was not interested in Goosebumps.
You've told that story 100,000 times.
Okay, well, my second son was not interested, and that's Marco. At first, he was not interested in Goosebumps. He's been more interested in them later, as kind of like to analyze them and compare them with the episodes. Which that was another problem. We were not able to watch the episodes. You couldn't get them. There was no streaming. You couldn't buy them. The only ones you could buy were the obvious ones: Haunted Mask 1 and 2. Stay Out of the Basement. Welcome to Dead House.
But we proudly bought the pirated version from a guy on eBay. Some guy, he copied all the Goosebumps episodes to discs.
Which was really nice.
And then we bought them. And, we proudly did that because it's just like with now, like when you go on these streaming places and they don't have the movies or shows that you're looking for and it says currently unavailable. And it's like, oh, well, fuck you too. Like, I'm going to go somewhere where I can find those things to watch. And it's the same thing like for Mayberry RFD. They released the first season of that, but then seasons 2 and 3, they still haven't released. But you can just watch them on fucking Daily Motion. So, why not? Like, why would I wait 1,000 years for the studio to, grow a pair and release seasons 2 and 3?
Well, it's a shame, and I don't know. I think my older son, he just stopped watching them. He grew out of them because, like I said, he'd already read. His reading level was up higher, and then Harry Potter came out, and I think that just kind of took over. And
yeah.
So anyway,
I wanted to play the new Harry Potter game, but I haven't set up the TV yet, and so I just haven't gotten around to it.
But anyway, I'm glad to be able to at least have the opportunity to watch them because I thought it was a lot of fun. We'd come home after school and Goosebumps would be on and Batman would be on and Animaniacs, and they really had a good bunch of shows. And then all of a sudden they just started taking them off one by one, and then they just disappeared. And so you could not watch any Goosebumps. There's no streaming. You couldn't buy the copies, except for, like I said, those basic early ones where, Haunted Mask 1 and 2, they were on Halloween night. And so, of course, they had those for sale, but you couldn't get them. So, so you couldn't watch anything. And it was really unfair because, it would have been fun.
Well, so anyways, to today's video.
Right. Today's video is covering ones that I never got to see. And I did remember a few of them. I couldn't tell by the title what they were about. Like there was one about peas, and I don't remember seeing anything anywhere for any.
That's the whole funniest. That's the funniest line of the book, Safi.
Well, it was just funny. It is funny that they have a title that has the word peas in it.
Why?
It's just weird.
No, it's not. It's not weird at all. Did you read the book? Did you watch the show?
No. Yes, I watched the show.
Yeah, well, what happens is it's a really... I mean, the book is really, really funny. I give the short story like an A+. And there's a part where it's like in The Exorcist where the baby pukes green stuff all over the place, or so the brother thinks. And then he sees like some container that's been opened or something. He's like, it's not puke, it's strained peas. It's really hilarious. But the first episode was How to Kill a Monster, which I'm going to summarize them all since we got to do this video a bit faster for some reason. This episode is all about these two little brats, and they're staying with their shitty-ass grandparents in Louisiana, in the middle of the swamp.
Which is a really neat setting.
Yeah, it's one of the best settings that you could have for a story of any kind. Except for, like, real life. Real life would probably be, like, I don't know, like, all the bugs and the heat and the...
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but we went to this place in Georgia.
Oh, God,
and
Safi.
they had, you would sit in this theater, and then they had
remember
the
that,
stage, and that's what
Safi.
that reminded me of.
I know.
It was a really cool setting, but this was even better.
They had something, it was like 4D, and it was like some gimmick thing where when there was water on screen, they sprayed water at you or something. It was pretty cool.
It was different. I've never been anything like that.
I wish I knew what it was exactly called, though, because it'd be interesting to see if they've upgraded it since then. So back to the actual episode, since I'm supposed to be summarizing the episode. There's a monster that's in a room, and the grandparents are just too lazy to tell the kids directly that there's a monster in the room. And the whole episode is in the book is basically just all around the fact that they're too lazy to tell them there's a monster in that room.
The monster's like 7 feet tall, and it's orange.
And they keep on trying to kill the monster because they let it out, and they don't know how to kill it or defeat it. I give it like a C-.
Yeah, I would agree, because the setting was really, really good, and it was an interesting monster. But just when they thought they had killed it, it would be knocked out, or faded out, or smoking like it was disintegrating. But then the next scene, it came back. It would come back again. And this happened over and over and over and over, and it was kind of weird. It was almost like they were driving and they couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't move. They were in quicksand. They couldn't walk or run. They just would be staying in place. And the event, which was trying to get rid of the monster, would happen over and over and over again, but not the same way. They weren't trying to kill it. It was all different ways to try to kill him. They couldn't do it.
It didn't work for me, though, because it was really lame. Like that's the main word that I could think of, like lame. And that's the main word I can think of for the majority of these episodes that we're talking about here. Lame. You know, like no wonder Safi didn't tune in to watch How to Kill a Monster. Like, boring.
Well,
in fact, the thing that they set up at the end in the book is actually a much better story idea of where they're trapped in the middle of the swamp. They got to get out of the swamp, and there's all these other creatures around. How are they going to survive and get out? You know, like, that seems like a much more exciting story than two kids let out a monster that their grandparents didn't tell. Oh, and then the grandparents just run away. And like, just, oh, God. Like, oh, terrible grandparents.
Oh, I thought they came back and they wanted to make dinner again or something. They were making a hot...
They were gone all day.
Yeah, it was just weird.
Just
it
left.
Wasn't very good. It just wasn't very good.
And Don't Wake Mummy, this is all about, there's a dad on vacation and he's
on a research project.
He's on a vacation and he is an archaeologist. He sent this killer mummy home to his family to keep before the museum could take it. And the problem is that the family are a couple of retards. And the little boy, he's a lot like you-know-who. You remember. You know. The kid with curly hair.
Oh.
Who dressed up like a third grader all the time. You know, he's a lot like that kid. And he's a real little shithead. And he's just so unlikable. He's probably, in terms of the show, one of the least likable characters in the whole show because he's just so dopey and he just always has this, like, dopey face. Like, he's just such a dweeb. And then he's got this sister, and she's really hardcore.
And her best friend's with them all the time.
And she likes horror movies, and she likes pizza with olives.
Green olives.
And she's progressive because she's got a black friend.
This is Canada.
And she's really, really one of the more likable characters in Goosebumps, the Goosebumps universe. And then you have the mom. And the mom is like a space cadet.
She's she's kind of a... The husband's an Egyptologist, and she is also an Egyptologist. She can read hieroglyphics. He wants her to read the hieroglyphics on the tomb, the mummy, on the outside, because I guess she's an expert at it. And that's why he sent it there first. And so that's what she's been doing. She stays up really late, so... That's what's going on with the mother. She is a space kid. She's like the absent-minded professor.
The absent-minded professor.
And I've seen it firsthand, so I know what that's like.
Well, I think the episode's fun. I think it's a fun but flawed ride. It's a very... I mean, they're not taking themselves too seriously, like you can tell.
That's good, too.
I give it more props for that. I give it a B.
Yeah, I'll give it a B, too.
You're just copying me.
Well, I don't like the sister bullying the brother. But see, Marco doesn't like the brother, so he
deserves it.
She bullies him, but she's like...
She's hardcore.
Very overwhelming.
She's hardcore.
She's very, like... She's more of a force than anybody in the family.
She's a horror fan.
And she dresses up as a mummy, and the mummy looks at her like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, she's hardcore.
She's so convincing as a mummy that he's like confused and thinks she's a mummy too. And like, "Who are you?"
She probably will go to a horror convention and dress up as a mummy.
Yeah, she looked really good. She's actually a really good mummy.
To meet Brendan Fraser.
Costume.
She can meet Brendan Fraser while dressed up as a mummy at a convention.
He's not going to go to any convention now.
And then he'll be like, "Who are you?" And she'll be like, "I was in this one Goosebumps episode called Don't Wake Mummy." That'd be pretty funny.
Well, I guess I'll give it a B.
Yeah, I mean, come on, so you discriminated against the sister.
Well, I just don't like that. I think she's a crappy to her brother.
What? Where?
She's constantly bullying him and...
Bullying?
Yeah.
Well, look at her. Look, she doesn't look like a bully.
She's mischievous. She's got a mischievous face.
What's a mischievous face?
And this is funny because what they had these in Egypt they had these jars, and when they took out all of their insides to make them a mummy, they put them in their, I think that they're called canoptic or something like jars. And the jar that they're showing here in this one shot,
it's
show,
fake.
it looks like
paper mache.
E.T.
Oh yeah, it does. No, it looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or something.
Well, it looks like a combination of E.T. and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And usually they don't have that kind of, I don't think they usually have that kind of top to the jar.
You really have to just watch the episode and then not really think about things too much. with Goosebumps.
Okay, next.
Shocker on Shock Street.
Now this surprised me because if you just remember the books, just seeing them, we went to tons of like book club meetings and things because when it was real popular, that's what they had in town. And the Shocker on Shock Street book is the picture on the cover is like a reddish orange, like neighborhood, like the sun's coming down.
It's very memorable.
And they have a big, like, grasshopper or a
praying mantis
on the street. And you think, oh, well, this is about a big insect that gets real big, you know, like monster blood, like the things had monster blood and it's grown to be giant and it's invading the neighborhood.
It's
well,
it's probably one of the best covers too.
Yeah, guess what though? There's no bug, no insect in the show at all. Not once.
Yeah, the show. I think it's the show. This one is the definition of a mixed bag because there's so much stuff about it that is terrible and it doesn't work. But at the same time, it's a fun 20 minutes, and it lacks in a lot of production quality too. In terms of Shock Street, this amusement park, it looks awful. It looks fake. It doesn't look like anything. Like it just looks like a random town.
I think it looks like a leftover from that. Horrorland.
Horrorland?
Yeah, I think it looks like they took the sets and they combined them together.
There were some good effects though. I mean, the people who did the effects for the Goosebumps series, they did a great job. Some of the best effects I've ever seen. And it was cool to see some of those effects showcased, like, you know, I put up a picture of, like, they have this Toadinator thing, and it's like a toad person or something, and I think it looks really cool. And there's stuff like that that is really nice to see because, you know, nowadays it would just all be computer generated.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even...
It's kind of a cop-out, I think, to have that. But maybe it saves money.
Well, the audience can't hear you, so that saves money.
Okay, well, I think it's a cop-out to have computer-generated everything. And the only reason why maybe they do that is because it saves money. I don't know. Or they can put stuff on there that they just couldn't even possibly do with regular prop materials. I don't know.
As I told you guys with the book, too, I really despise the ending. Where it's just, oh, the kids are robots. And it's like, yeah, who cares? It's really lackluster. For such a grand premise, it's just very lackluster. It's too ambitious.
Well, it's like they had this money and they thought, and it's going to be a big thing. But it really, almost like it just ran out of gas. And the ending just kind of, boop, when it started out like a big opera, singing and dancing. I mean, they didn't do that, but I'm saying it was just really loud and just really bold. And
speaking of bold, you know, you really like the actress in this episode, Safi.
She looked familiar to me, and she's a Hallmark actress. In fact, she's just been in a ton of different shows. She's been in like 100 different shows.
You said, well, Chauncey has been in 500. So.
I don't care about that person. He's a phony.
He's been
a fraud.
He's been in 500 quote unquote shows.
Yeah, okay.
But you said she's amazing. She's always happy. She's she's always happy and laughing. And then the whole episode, she's literally never happy and smiling.
Yeah, you're
like,
right. Actually, I think the boy is always happy.
I mean,
I don't like his haircut.
See, look, she's not happy there.
Okay.
She kind of looks like Krychek from the X-Files
Yeah,
a little
does
bit.
Look like him. I wonder if they're related. She looks a lot like him.
And see, she's not happy there, and she's not happy, Safi.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about, Safi.
Come on.
You said she's happy all the time. See, look at that face. Gross. Now we're on to My Best Friend is Invisible. This is a very shitty ass fucking episode. I give this a fuck you.
Well, this is almost as bad as that, and it's really funny because there's dogs in it again.
Yeah.
And I
no, this is not. This is My Best Friend is Invisible.
Oh yeah.
This is the one about.
Sorry, I got confused with another one, but this one is terrible. It just, the actress and actor, they can't act.
Yeah, these are some of the worst child actors I've ever seen. They are both terrible. They suck all the charisma off the screen. The story is trash. The book is trash. It's like, what kind of a kid says, hey, I want to go watch My Best Friend is Invisible? Like, oh, I'd rather jump off a cliff than do that.
Even the premise of the story... At the end, it freaked me out. It was just terrible. It's like they came up with a completely different idea and ended it with that. It's like it never, the rest of it never pointed to that.
Yeah.
And it was like two different stories.
There's a stupid twist thing where,
it's not even a twist.
R.L. Stein, he's always got to have a twist.
No, I didn't like. It's just like two different stories.
I know.
The end is an end. It's not really a story, but it's like it was an end of another story.
It's terrible.
So it's two separate. Like you have this whole build up to the end, right? So the whole build up is one story, and the end is another story. It's bizarre, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the characters.
It's one of
especially the girl.
And it's one of the only episodes I had never seen. So it just shows like, ugh. This is be at the bottom of the list for episodes.
Well, it'd be with the dogs, that's for sure.
Yeah, the barking ghost.
Well, the dogs episode from yesterday.
The barking ghost too.
Oh yeah.
With
that thing.
Fergie.
She's been on other stuff too. She looks familiar.
Oh, really? Is she happy all the time?
I don't know. She just looks.
Is she happy and gay?
She looks like she's.
Safi, that means happy.
She looks like she's an alien or something.
Really?
I don't know. She's got a weird.
You're saying she looks like an alien?
Yeah, and he's been in other Goosebumps. I recognized him right away, and I got the wrong one, but Marco knew which one it came from. He was in.
She doesn't look like an alien. She just looks like a future crack whore. Anyways, this story is it's brilliant. It's so amazing. The book is very fun, and I think it's a really entertaining read. Which is something that I don't really say, and it's a creepy concept, and there's a lot of great parts in it that I can think of right off the bat, even though I read it weeks and weeks ago. The episode is a complete bastardization. I mean, I like the idea of giving backstories to the people who were changed into the dogs, but the backstory was terrible. They're just some stupid pirates, and they have gold. They have
money. They have gold.
The gold is a red herring.
Yeah, because it doesn't play a factor in it at all.
Yeah, told you so.
But it was really odd, though, because the boy, he is the one that hears the dogs all the time. And he squats down next to the water. It's like a stream or a river. No, it's not a river. It's like a stream. And he sees something shining in the water. Well, it's a golden bloom. So they show these pirates at the beginning. They have this bag, and it's like they've stolen the bag of money from some other pirate, or they need to stow it away until they can come back and get it because they're being pursued or something. And then this boy sees this doubloon after hearing dogs, and that's it. They never say anything about the money.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I know what's going to happen. They're going to find this treasure in the cave and bring it home. No, they didn't find any treasure.
I have to give this episode an F- because there are so many other examples of why this is trash. Like, this episode pisses me off because people call the book terrible, which I think the book is like a B-, maybe even a B, or no, I mean it's a C. It's a C+. It's a really fun book. The episode, I mean, this is just, it's terrible what they did to this book. I never want to watch it again.
Well, so. I don't like it, the fact that they have these episodes with dogs.
Yeah.
And they're really cool dogs. These are two, I couldn't even figure out what they were. They're not Rottweilers, but they're black. They don't look like Labradors because they don't have the frame that usually Labradors have, which are kind of like a little bit long and lean, like a retriever, because they are retrievers, black Labrador retrievers. But these are kind of like the cross between a Rottweiler and a black retriever. And I didn't know what they were, but because when they were mean and showing their teeth and growling, I'm like, what the hell are those dogs? But then when they're smiling and friendly and they're nice, then they look like retrievers. So it's just weird. But I don't like the fact they have these episodes with dogs and they're not good.
And the cat episode sucks too.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I remember that one.
And so, like,
cat or
all of the animal-centric episodes are trash for some reason.
They don't know how to do animal episodes, I guess.
They don't know how to do animals.
At all. And it's just too bad. Because people like, on YouTube, you go scrolling up and down the list of films, they're all, a lot of them about pets. And just animals in the wild. It's just terrible.
Now, so you give it an F2, F-? Are we in agreement?
Yeah, because it just didn't make any sense.
Now, Teacher's Pet, this is another bastardization, because now I've read the Teacher's Pet short story, nothing like this at all. They must have not had any money, and so they said, let's just have them take a field trip. They go into a cabin and trespass, and this episode's a fucking disaster. I mean, it is the worst.
It's about these kids on a field trip for school. And it's like a nature thing, so they're going to camp out, and they're going to look at nature. What the bad thing about this episode was one of the main characters, there was a girl and a boy, which happens in almost every show. There's a girl and a boy. They're either related or mostly, Marco says they're not. They're friends.
Yeah, quote-unquote friends.
These are like classmates. And the girl died of meningitis right after the airing of this show.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that this was the thing that she died after. Like, just of all the things. Like, Safi, you could just, out of all the Goosebumps episodes, like, it's just too bad that she couldn't have died after the haunted house game or something. Like, after being in that, this had to be her last moment on screen, is this terrible trash Teacher's Pet.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
But you got pissed off at this episode, Safi. Like, these kids, they wander out in the middle of a forest, they find a cabin that says no trespassing.
And they go in anyway.
And they go in twice.
And they break things.
They're breaking things.
Not on purpose.
Fondling jars, fondling test tubes.
Why are they getting into things that They had no business being there. They're supposed to be on a field trip with their class.
Fondling snake skins.
They walk away from their class and they're just going out on their own and just doing whatever they want.
It is bizarre. And their teacher, she never gets mad. She never even finds out or anything. Like, it's just ridiculous. And the whole conclusion too with the snake teacher is just
Stupid.
Ugh. But you know what X-Files episode really was reminiscent of this though?
What?
You know, the one with the snakes and the religious cult where at the end the guy turned into a snake person.
That was actually, they did that better than this one.
I know, and I felt like that's what this guy should have looked like.
Yeah. What they did was, I didn't even know what they were doing.
So I would rate Teacher's Pet, I don't know, probably like a D-.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because when I did not read the book, I originally gave it like a C+. But since I read the short story, I'm not doing that anymore. The Haunted House Game was the last one we watched. This is another mixed bag for me. I think it's really goofy and corny.
Well, I liked it because I thought it'd be a great idea for something in real life. And they play a board game. What happens is this little girl says she loses her cat in this house. They go in, they're looking for the cat. But anyway, it ends up they're in the middle of a game, and they have to play the game in order to leave the house. And the cards are like life size almost. I mean, they're huge, the playing cards. And then they have dice. The dice actually are regular size, which is odd. And then they pick up clues. And the clues are the things that will lead them to exiting the house. And I thought it would really be fun to have a game like that and be able to play it. Not sit at a board game, but actually physically be a part of the game and play it, and have big cards and and it was cool. I liked it, and they do end up escaping, and but there's people in the game like ghosts, or they're part of the game. They chase them and they haunt them, and so that's like the scary part. And it's just not about they're scared that they're never going to leave. It's these ghosts that are haunting them too while they play the game.
Yeah. I thought that it was a great concept for an episode, but
I didn't like the guy in there. I thought he was goofy looking and weird, and I don't know.
yeah, he kind of looks like an ant or something, like an insect or something.
I don't know, but I don't care about what he looks like. He's just
You just said he looks funny.
He does look funny, but he's just
What way?
It's just the whole. He looks like an elf. A giant elf. So anyway, it's just the little girls actually, because what they do is after they escape and everything, then they show the little girl outside the house, and another pair of kids comes along, and she tells them she lost her cat. Could they go in there? And so they go into the house. So she's like a trap. She's the one. She's doing this deliberately to trap them inside the house.
So, Safi, review the episode.
Well, but I just think it was. I don't know. It was okay. I gave it a C. I wouldn't give it a D or anything because I like the idea of the game, and I thought that was a really good thing. Fun for people to watch, and it would be fun for them to be a part of. But the actors were, and they had the ghosts were interesting too. They had a couple of women, and they looked like whatever happened to Baby Jane. They were dressed like that. They always had makeup on, and their hair was weird. And then they had this pair of one is supposed to be a sea captain, and the other one is supposed to be a fisherman.
Safi, don't explain.
Well, you couldn't tell the difference between either one. They looked alike.
Stop explaining,
Well,
Safi.
anyway, it was the characters were interesting and weird.
The notable thing, the reason why it's so surprising that Safi said that this is the best one.
No, I don't say that this is the best one at all.
Out of these that we watched.
Oh,
And
yeah, I like this the best.
The reason why it's so shocking is because while we were watching it the whole time, she just kept on huffing and puffing and saying, "When's this gonna end?" And it's like, fuck off. Like, it's a show. Like, just let the show play.
Well, they just sometimes they do. There's so many obvious things that they could do that they don't do.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And then the thing with the dogs kind of drives me nuts because I know people love to watch animal shows. They love to watch shows that have animals. They add some kind of interest to it. Then it would without it, it wouldn't be the same. Well, especially these dogs played a big part of that show in particular. But still, I just don't like that. And then they have these people, and they are just not good at acting, and they're just kind of like blah, and like they're supposed to be afraid. So they either overdo it or they underdo it. It's just it's just not good.
Well, the sister in Don't Make Mommy didn't do that.
No. That actually was pretty good with that kind of thing.
I give the Haunted House game a B-. I think that
me too.
It's fun, but
B.
I don't really want to watch it again. Like
I don't either.
Other Goosebumps episodes, I do. Like I'd love to watch Night in Terror Tower a million times more. And speaking of other episodes, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, which of course Safi threw a bunch of monkey wrenches in, again, is I wanted to, make some of the foods that they had from these episodes and sort of have fun with it.
Which is a good idea.
And for this, we made the prune cookies from my favorite episode of the whole series, and it's called An Old Story, and it's all about the kids are staying with their Aunt Dahlia, which of course they find out at the end that she was never any of their aunts at all. She is a witch, and she makes prune everything. Prune waffles, prune pork roast, prune cookies.
But that's because it's been bewitched. She's made some kind of concoction, some potion that is part of the prunes.
Yeah, it turns these kids old so that then she can sell them and traffic them to her old friends.
Right, which is really weird.
And so then the old friends with the kids can go live off in an island together, like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, they're not 50. They're not 60. They're like 90.
Yeah, they're like
they're old.
My relatives that just died like last year or earlier this year. Like they're
true.
That old.
They're
so
very old.
like
and
it's
nothing against them. It's just
it's really creepy.
It's not like Jeffrey Epstein in the terms of the age.
But you know what I mean. There was an island involved. Remember in the episode? They said that they wanted to live right next to each other, and like, oh god.
It's just kind of bizarre if you really think about it. But this is, I mean, we watched this before that Jeffrey Epstein thing became known.
Well,
and
see,
back then,
everybody knew about it. It's just that if you talked about it, you got called a conspiracy theorist by, the people that you watch. So
okay, Marco.
That's what happened, Safi. That's what happened all the time.
I don't.
So I wanted to make. Well, there's nothing to agree about. It's
okay,
just
Marco.
an
Let's
objective
just finish
fact.
up, okay?
There's nothing to agree about. I wanted to make the prune cookies. So Safi, eat a prune cookie.
Okay.
Eat another
I'm
one.
gonna eat one more because we gotta have dinner.
Well, these prune cookies are amazing. I think that they're some of the best cookies in history. I think that the more they sit out, the better they even get because the prune jam, it firms up a bit, and it's really, really good. And so I would say that the prune cookies, like, those kids were right. Like, they are really addicting and good.
Well, it's kind of like a vanilla cookie.
Yeah.
These are like you make little balls.
Little
and
balls.
Then you flatten them out and you put a thumbprint in them. They're like thumbprint cookies. Then you get prunes.
Prune balls.
And you cook them in some different, what was it? Vanilla and sugar.
No, lemon.
Lemon. And you make it into a jelly you put that after it's cooked. After the prunes are cooked, you put them in the sauce stuff that they're in. You put them in a blender, and then you blend it down to like a jelly. And you put after everything cools down, the cookies and the prune stuff, you spread you made a little indentation in the cookies with your finger, and you put some prune paste, jelly, whatever you want to call it, into that imprint. And you eat them; they're really good, and prunes are good for you. So, but they're really little, and they're very light, and they're not heavy or anything. So they're really good.
Yeah, and I've never had prunes before, so this is my first ever prune experience.
I don't know about that.
I can't wait to put prunes on everything. Like, I want to have, for dinner, I want to have prune grilled cheese.
Whoa!
I don't just want to have grilled cheese because you know that prunes exist now, and that they're so good that, like, I want to have prune Oreos. I want to have prune breakfast bars. I want to have prune ice cream. I just want to put prunes on everything.
Okay, well, you want me to leave these here?
No.
Okay, we gotta go.
I'm not going to eat all those. I just wanted to have one more. You overcooked that last bit, the last batch.
I don't know what happened.
And so I couldn't even bite into that one.
But at least we can see what happens if you do cook them longer than...
But it was a great recipe. It was another YouTuber who decided to do this, and I thought, wow, those were really good. I give them an A+. Safi, stop doing that.
Well, we gotta go.
Because of what? Because of someone else?
We gotta make dinner.
Is irrelevant?
And we have to make dinner.
Really?
Yeah.
Who cares? We're doing a video.
Okay, well, we're almost done. But anyway, it was a fun experiment to watch episodes of Goosebumps that I've never seen. And even though not very many of them were really, really, really good, it was still fun to watch what they came up with. It was a nice little show. And I got to talk to Arlstein, and he really loved making the series. He loved being a part of it.
And by talking, she means she was trying to, like, interview him or something.
No, I was not trying to interview him. We were...
And then the bodyguards tackled her.
Marco's just making up a story. He wasn't even born yet when I met him.
The bodyguards.
We went to a book signing.
The bodyguards.
And this was the first book he wrote that were, like, full of stories that were, like, scary or horror related. There were short stories. And while he was signing the book, I asked him a couple questions, and I said that my other son had been reading the Goosebumps stories. And
you told him that story that you've told people 1,000 times.
And so anyway, he was really happy, and I said, how do you like making this? How do you like the show? And he said he loved being a part of it. He loved the show. So. Well,
he loved Fear Street too, so.
I don't think that was on yet when we saw him, and it hadn't.
Yeah, and it's book signings are really bad because at conventions, you can ask a celebrity for a little interview. Like, celebrities will say, "Yeah, I'll do a little interview." Like that one that we talked to, we didn't even buy anything from him. He just talked to us for like 30 minutes, and we didn't even buy anything. But at a book signing, it's basically like, oh, you sign the book and you leave.
Yeah, well, they won't let them talk to you.
Yeah.
I've been through this more than once. Because I was a reporter, and I'm just, you know, when you start reporting, you ask questions, you get used to asking questions, so you just think of more and more and more. And so I would go there, and they're really good authors, and I would ask them a question, and they'd start getting mad just when I just ask one question. And it wasn't anything bad, it was just like about like how they wrote, like it was Preston and what's the other guy who write thrillers, and his friend, they're like they've been best friends forever. And I said, ask them about the writing style, how they did it, and they got mad. They don't want you to talk to them. They just want to say
it's
hi
really
and
queer.
bye, and so they can move you along.
Really, really queer.
And I really resent it because you don't get to see these people, and it's a real it is a real opportunity. And why you can't ask a couple of questions, and they have a fit, and it really irritates me. And they're moving me along with Arlstein. And at least I wanted him to know.
See, guys, they were moving her along.
That I wanted him to
they
know
tackle
that his
her.
books were encouraging children
they knew
to read.
They knew that she was going to pull off a Borat and try to carry him out of there.
No, Marco.
Yeah.
I said they encourage children to read,
and this is what happened too with like Chloe. Where, you
what
know,
the hell?
You started talking to her, and I was like, oh.
Well,
and I just left.
It was Chloe, what's her last name?
And then there was that Henry Thomas, and
oh, well.
I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to him, and then you started talking to him. I
shouldn't have talked to him because I hadn't.
Yeah.
He was in. This is the boy who was in E.T.
And
remember the boy?
You
he grew up.
You just had to say like the most stupidest question that you'd ever say to an actor, which is, have you been in anything recently? It's like...
And he'd been in a few things. He hadn't been in a lot. He still hasn't been in a lot. I don't care what he says.
That was like an Office-style moment of how, like, awkward and terrible it was. Like, I don't ever want to meet or talk to Henry Thomas again just because of the experience with Safi.
Well, I was very sorry that I upset him. I didn't mean to do that. I really didn't. And I just, you know, when you see, this was a different experience with him because he was a kid. We saw him, a little kid. And now he was a grown man. And they're just so different.
Now he's a grown man.
He's so different. And it's, you know, they have different challenges and different kind of roles to be in, and it's just not the same. And so I just hadn't watched the things that he'd been in, like the what is it called, the Kings of New York, or the...
I guess it was a better experience than that other guy who he came over, he took the picture, and then he ran away. Remember?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
C. Thomas Howell.
Oh, that guy.
Remember, he came up, we handed him $50, he took a picture, and he left.
Yeah, that's too bad. Well, I said something to him because he had been in Grimm.
Oh, yeah, you talked to him, too.
That was my favorite show, and he was sad because he hadn't gotten to do more episodes of what he was allowed to do.
See, guys, the only reason I even let Safi come is because she had to take the pictures. And, yeah.
Okay, well, we have to go now, so... I hope you enjoyed this video.
I want to talk to the Goosebumps people.
Okay, well, I'm going to go now. You can talk to them all you want.
Really?
So, bye, everybody.
Bye. Okay, so, anyways, the Goosebumps people, they might be fun. Like...
I don't know what you're doing. He's probably mad now. And
well, I think that the Goosebumps people, like... And so some of the episodes that we didn't watch were like the Carlsville 1 and 3. And Safi had this weird, like, thing where she was like, oh, I thought I saw those episodes, but I never saw that one. Or maybe I saw that one. And, you know, Carlsville is a prime example of, like, how the writers do not know how to write. And they don't know how to write, like, anything original. they need that R.L. Stine story to assist them, and so that then they can have like the best parts of those stories. Okay, now she's gone. We can talk about the plan. We are going to pull off the ultimate Goosebumps plan. No, I'm just kidding. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.